Hi, I'm Danielle, and welcome to your Wednesday morning gentle yoga class at 7 a.m. We're going to start in an easy seated position. So that could be cross-legged, that could be having your legs out in front of you, whatever feels comfortable. I like to usually have a block or a blanket set under my hips. So you find your seated position. And we'll start with a few gentle neck stretches. Before we do that, you can roll your shoulders a little bit, starting to warm them up. You can roll your shoulders back. You can roll your shoulders forward or alternate one at a time. You can even shrug your shoulders up to your ears and release. Shrug your shoulders one more time and then let go. And reach your fingertips out towards your sides, down towards your mat. And your fingertips may or may not touch, and that's okay. But reach them down so that your shoulders come down away from the ears. And then drop your right ear to your right shoulder. And you don't have to try to force it down, but let gravity and the weight of your head create space between the left ear and the left shoulder. And let your head float back to center and drop your left ear towards your left shoulder, reaching down through your fingertips again. And then return your head back to center. Maybe roll out your shoulders one more time if that feels good. And we're going to start to move the spine in some different directions. So we'll take a little bit of a side stretch. Inhale your arms up overhead. And exhale, release over to the right side, bringing your right hand down to the mat. Left hand comes up overhead. And if your shoulder starts to collapse inward, draw the shoulder back so that you're opening chest and you're creating space through both side bodies. So you don't want to stretch the left side at the expense of crunching up the right. See if you can lengthen both and create space for the rib cage to expand, for your breath. And come back up to center, over to the other side. And come back up to center once again. Release your hands down to your sides. Bring the right hand behind you so fingertips can still be touching the mat, but let that arm act as a second spine. It's guiding your spine to keep you sitting tall and lengthened. And we're going to take a little twist. So your left hand comes to your right knee or your right thigh and start to look over your right shoulder. As you inhale, lengthen the spine, sit up nice and tall. And as you exhale, releasing that breath might drop you into the twist. So let the breath guide your twist instead of your muscles. And come back through center, switch sides so your left fingertips come right behind you. Right hand comes to your left knee or your left thigh. Sit up nice and tall first before you start to bring your gaze over your left shoulder. And come back to center once again. And we're going to take a few cat-cows from a seated position. So it'll be the same flexion and rounding of the spine, but from a seated position. So bring your arms out to your sides. And as you inhale, you're going to pull your shoulders back, pinching the shoulder blades together. Lift your gaze a little. And as you exhale, round your spine, bringing your hands together. Let your head and neck relax and release. Interlace your fingers and flip them out. Inhale as you reach up towards the ceiling. And exhale, release your hands back out to the sides. Flex your hands so that your fingertips are pointing behind you. Inhale, arch your back for that cow movement. Exhale, round your spine. Interlace the fingers. Inhale them up to the ceiling. And exhale, release your hands out to the sides. And we'll do 2 more with your breath. I'll move sideways so you can see. Hands flexed. Inhale, arch your back, gaze upward. Exhale, round your spine. Release the head and neck. Interlace your fingers. Inhale it up. Exhale, hands back out to the side. Last one. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale the arms up. And exhale, release. So you're starting to connect your breath with your movement, starting to warm everything up. And we'll come on to our hands and knees for tabletop. So your shoulders are stacked right over your wrists. Your hips are stacked over your knees. And you can leave your back toes tucked for stability, or you can release the tops of your feet to the mat, whichever feels better for you. And just start by taking a little bit of organic movement. You can snake side to side or hinge back and forth. And then you can take a few more of those cat-cows from here, if that feels good. And we'll take a child's pose. So your big toes come to touch, your knees come wide to the edge of your mat. Sit back on your heels and slide your hands forward. You can stay lifted or you can release your forehead to the mat. You can also always use a block or a blanket under your forehead here, or really whatever you've got handy. And take a moment in child's pose to check in with your body. Just kind of noticing if there's areas of tension or pain. And then notice your breath. Are your inhales shorter or longer than your exhales? Does your breath feel shallow, or does it feel like you're breathing deeply into all of the spaces of your abdomen, your torso? Sometimes if we do have areas of pain or tightness, our breath gets caught in those places. So throughout your practice today, if you find yourself holding your breath because something hurts or something's tight, obviously don't move yourself into a pose to the point of pain, but you can use your breath to send awareness to those areas. You can imagine breathing into those places and sending fresh oxygenated blood to those tight muscles. And even though physically our breath is only ever filling up our lungs, sometimes bringing awareness to those places in our body is enough to release it. So from your child's pose, we'll move back up into a tabletop, hands and knees. And we'll come into thread the needle. So you want to shift your weight into your left palm and spread your fingers wide on the mat, pressing each finger down into it. You know, sometimes you kind of let your knuckles come up, so you're just, wrist and fingertips, but get your whole hand on the mat. Inhale your right arm up to the ceiling, and as you exhale, slide that hand under your left armpit, bringing your right shoulder all the way down to the mat. And if this doesn't feel good, you can also prop it up with whatever you've got handy, blocks, blankets, pillows. Make this a beneficial pose for you, whatever that means. You can slide your left hand forward if you want to. Or you have the option to take a half bind. You can bring this left arm behind you, tucking into your right hip crease. Now kind of open the shoulder and intensify this twist a little bit. Bring your left hand back under your shoulder, press weight into the hand. Inhale your right arm up once again before you set it down to switch sides. This time your weight comes fully into your right hand. Inhale your left up overhead. Exhale, slide it under your armpit. Come down onto the shoulder and onto your left cheek if that feels good. Slide your right hand under your shoulder. Reach your left arm up. Exhale, set it down. Move out what you need to move. And from your tabletop position, we're going to step our right foot through between our hands. Just coming into a low lunge here. And start to hinge back and forth a little bit. I still have my left knee down on the mat. And then come back to a stable kneeling lunge. And we're going to come up to kneeling crescent. So once you feel balanced and stable, you can bring your torso up and make sure that your hips are both facing towards the front of the mat. They're squared so you don't have your left hip opening to the back. They're both pointing forward. And from here, bring your arms up overhead. And we're going to twist towards our right leg, our front leg. So bring your right arm back, left arm comes forward. And we'll take full 5 breaths here. Come back up to center and then open up to the other side. Let that left hip open. Come back to center once again. Release both hands down to the inside of the front foot and toe heel your front foot all the way up to the right corner of your mat. So we're setting up for a runner's lunge here, and you can adjust your back knee as needed. If you need to put something cushier under there, you can use whatever you've got, a blanket or anything, or fold up the edge of your mat to add some cushion. But once you find your runner's lunge, you can stay lifted. You can come down to your forearms. You can use a block. And if you want a bit more of a hip opener and you want to open up your knee to the side, that's fine as long as you're coming out to the knife edge of your foot and keeping your ankle in line with your knee to keep that joint safe. If you've released your knee out to the side, bring your foot back flat on the mat. Press weight into your hands under your shoulders so that you can start to shift weight back into your back leg. And toe heel that front foot back to center. And then you can take a half saddle by shifting weight fully over your back leg, straightening your front and flexing the foot up to the ceiling. You can stay lifted like this if it's giving you a good hamstring stretch. Maybe even folding forward over it a little bit. Or you can fully sit back on your back heel for that half saddle. Whichever one works better for you. And come back to a kneeling crescent and send that front foot back. And you can stretch it out. You can wiggle it out. Maybe take some hip circles. Before you set it down. And this time, shift your weight into your right knee as you bring your left foot between your hands. Find your stability before coming up to your kneeling crescent. And then take the time to set up your hips on this side as well. Square them to the front of your mat. And then bring your arms up overhead. You're going to take a twist towards your left foot this time, your left knee. So bring your left arm behind you, right arm comes in front. As you rotate your torso towards the left. And take 5 full breaths. And bring the arms back up as you come back to center and open to the other side to take that little counter stretch. Let the right hip open a bit. Come back to center. Release both hands down to the inside of the front foot. Toe heel your front foot up to the corner. And find your runner's lunge on this side. You might need a little bit more time on this side or a little bit less, depending on your body and how it's feeling today. So feel free to stay here for a little longer if you want to. And if you're starting to feel pretty balanced and even with the other side, start to toe heel that front foot back to center. And shift your weight back into your right heel. And flex the front foot as you straighten the leg. Taking a half saddle. If this is really hard on your knee, you can stay lifted. And after you straighten that left leg, taking your half saddle, you can send that front foot back, stretch it out, shake it out, take some hip circles. Before you come back to your tabletop, and then come into a child's pose again. Gently start to bring yourself out of child's pose. We're going to work our way into a seated position. So you can cross your ankles and simply sit back, or you can swing your legs out in front of you. But we'll work our way into a half staff. So extend your left leg straight and bring your right foot to the inside of your left thigh. And sit up nice and tall. If you want to stay here, you can stay here. If you'd like to fold forward, inhale your arms up overhead, hinge from your hips, lead with your heart as you reach over that front foot. The goal is not to touch your toes, but the goal is to find some beneficial sensation. If you're folded forward over your leg, take a long time coming back up to seated since it took you a long time to get into this pose. Use your fingertips, walk your fingertips back towards your body, and then maybe bring a little bit of movement into that leg. And we're going to bring our right foot to the outside of our left leg. Give your knee a hug. Now you can stay here. This is your first option for your pretzel with your left leg extended, your right leg crossed over. You have the option to fold that left leg in if you want to. And you also have the option to take a little twist by beginning to look over your right shoulder. And if you're going to take the twist, either way, you're sitting up very tall as you squeeze that knee into your chest. Rotate your torso back to center. Release the right leg behind you so your knee is bent. And if your front leg is still out straight, bend that knee so that the heel is coming in towards your body. So you're in deer pose. Both knees are bent and spiraled behind you. Set your left hand on the mat out to the side and inhale your right arm up overhead at the same time. Lift your hips, pressing them forward. And release back down. If you want to, you can lean back or set your forearms on the mat behind you if you want to get a little bit of an additional stretch through your quads or into your hip flexors. For some people, this is a good way to get it. And come back up slowly. Now from here, we're going to shift into the other side. So one of the best ways to do that is to help guide your right leg straight out in front of you. And your left leg should already be in position to come to meet your thigh. So you're taking your half staff on the other side. If you'd like to stay here, you can stay here. If you'd like to fold forward, inhale your arms up overhead, hinge from your hips, lead with your heart. Once you can't reach any farther, surrender your hands down to the floor or your leg. And then you can let the rest of your back round forward as your head and neck release. As you start to come up from this pose, take your time walking your hands back towards your torso. Shake out that leg a little bit. And then bring your left knee up and set your left foot on the outside of your right leg. And giving your knee a good hug in towards the chest. And you're sitting up nice and tall. You can stay here. You can bend that right knee, tucking your leg in. And if you want to, you can gaze over your left shoulder and start to take a little twist. It might take a little finagling to find out exactly which pose is best for you on this side, and that's okay. Take the time to explore and find out what works for you. If you've taken the twist, rotate back to center. Release the right leg and swing it all the way behind you, knee bent. And then if your front leg is still straight out, you can bend that knee as well, bringing the heel in towards you so that you're in deer pose on this side. Use your right hand to brace yourself on the mat. Inhale your left arm up, lift your hips, press your hips forward, extend through your left side body, and keep breathing. And then release your hips and your arm down. If you want to, you can bring both arms behind you. Find the sweet spot where you might get a good quad stretch. Take that if you'd like. If you find that this knee is popping up off the ground, maybe sit up a little bit and keep that knee as flat as you can. When you're ready, press yourself back up. Bring both legs out in front of you. Shake them out nice and good. Maybe windshield wiper back and forth. And we'll make our way onto our backs. You can get there however you like to, but I like to put my hands behind my thighs and then roll back. Bring one knee and then the other into your chest. You can rock side to side, or you can make circles on the ceiling with your knees to massage out your low back and your sacrum. And we're going to move into a figure four. So cross your right ankle, above your left knee, not right on your knee, but just above it. And let that right knee fall out. And then you're going to start to draw your left leg in towards your chest so you can grab right behind the left thigh and start to pull it in. And find your sweet spot where you're getting a good sensation but not pain. Take one more breath here and then release your left foot down to the mat. Uncross your legs. Windshield wiper out a little bit. And then cross your left ankle just above your right knee. And start to draw that right thigh towards your chest. Take one more big breath here and release. Set that right foot back down on the mat, followed by the left. And take whatever other movements you need here before you set up for your final Shavasana. So if you want to take a little happy baby, you can. Or just adjusting the legs, adjusting the shoulders. If you want to take a traditional Shavasana, you can slide one leg and then the other down to the mat. Let your feet fall open and your hands can rest down by your sides. You can also rest your hands on your belly, or a hand on your belly, a hand on your heart. And if it feels better on your low back, you can keep the knees bent with your feet flat on the mat to support that low back. Once you find the pose where you want to spend your Shavasana, let your arms and your legs start to feel heavy. And they still feel firmly supported by the earth under you. But right here, right now, they don't have to do the work to hold you up. And I encourage you to spend as long as you can in Shavasana. There's about 5 minutes left of this hour-long block, but if you're at home on your own time and you can take the time, spend as long as you can, because this is your time to rest and relax and to thank your body for the hard work that it does for you. This is your time for your yoga practice to set in. And if there are any remaining areas of tension, breathe into those spaces and imagine that tension melting away, rolling off of you and being absorbed by the earth. You're letting go of everything that you don't need, that doesn't serve you, making room for the things that you do want to invite into your life. And I'll sign off here so that you can spend as long as you want to or as long as you can in Shavasana. But I want to thank you for doing yoga with me. Namaste.